Well, welcome back, everyone. Fred Rodriguez joins us this morning. Fred, thank you for coming in. First, could you tell us a little bit about your qualifications of why you're talking to us about hearing loss?
I started about just almost 9 years ago. I became a hearing instrument specialist. I was licensed through the state of Michigan. I also have a course that's been completed through the American Conference through audio prostology. And then I also became a state dealer license. I work for Miracle Ear. And I started in Lower Michigan in the Big Rapids area. And then my wife also is a consultant. And we had the opportunity to move back north. And I came to Marquette, so I'm very, very excited to be back here.
That is great. Well, I'm glad you did, because you were saying that a lot of people have hearing loss and they may not even realize it, or there's a couple of reasons why people don't get their hearings checked. What are some of those?
That's right, Vicki. You know, there's like about 36 million people that have a hearing loss, but out of the 36 million, probably 75% don't seek help.
Wow.
And the reason why is it's kind of a rumor, hearsay, popular opinion. You know, they believe that hearing aids don't work, or they've heard that hearing aids don't work. They're very expensive, and when they're expensive and they don't work, it's kind of hard to move forward. And then a lot of people believe, I have a little hearing loss, but it's really not that bad and I can live with it, and that's kind of what's going on.
But you're saying if they live with it, that can almost get to the point where you can't help them.
Well, most people wait about 5 to 7 years before they actually seek help. And during that time, you know, there's damage that's being done. And then by the time we see them, our ability to actually help them is, it gets, you know, taken down some. So.
Oh, yeah. Well, and what really piqued my interest, though, is you've been finding some interesting links between hearing loss and dementia. What's with that?
Well, Johns Hopkins had a study out here just a couple years ago, and also the University of Washington, where they've actually now realized that because of hearing loss, we lose our auditory nerve that's not making a connection.
Okay.
And when that happens, you know, our ability to understand starts to lessen. And when that happens, you know, you get confused, you lose your ability to communicate and what day-to-day life is really about. There's a study out of the University of Pennsylvania that talks about auditory deprivation, and simply put, the brain isn't receiving a signal in the auditory nerve part.
Okay.
And it can actually shrink, the matter can actually shrink, and that's kind of how they're linking this together. So really what's important, Vicki, is that people get tested as early as possible. And what that does for us is it allows us to be able to help them and get a little better results. And also, you know, people are concerned about the cost. And typically we find that when we can get this thing looked at and start working on in the beginning, it's a lot cheaper.
Almost like preventative. You know, this is such great. Would you be willing to come back and talk to us a little bit more about how hearing loss works and everything?
Absolutely.
All right, because I think that this is something that's, you've started us this morning with some food for thought. So, and I'd love to hear more about it. So I'm going to have you come back at a later date and tell us more about, you know, things that we need to know about hearing loss.
Sure.
So don't delay. You know, I
Right.
mean, if you think you have a problem, contact Fred or somebody to get some help, right?
Sure, absolutely. At the end of the day, Vicki, what we tell people is, you know, pick out a hearing specialist that you can trust. Find one that does some real ear measurement or does some speech testing, and then just have your hearing tested.
All right, like I said, we're going to bring you back in maybe a week or so and see if you can come back and talk with us more about
absolutely.
it. So we're going to take a look at that. And if you are looking for a specialist, now Fred, you work here for Miracle Ear. Just a suggestion, could be somebody that you want to contact and find out more about it.
Absolutely, we welcome everybody. The tests are free, so, you know, give us a holler.
Perfect. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you very much.
And we're going to hear a whole lot more about this, provided you get help. Okay.
That's right.
And speaking of hearing, I can hardly wait to hear what Ashley Kirkland has to say. She is down teaching us a little bit more about making something yummy for dinner tonight. So she's going to be joining us about that coming up next.